Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're unpacking a classic Hindi moral tale, The Fruit of Honesty, analyzing a classic fable of greed and cunning. Now, at first glance, this might seem like, just a simple little fable about a hardworking guy. But as we're going to see, it actually unravels into this absolutely fascinating look at human psychology, integrity, and honestly, a brilliantly executed heist. I love breaking down these timeless stories because they really hold up a mirror to human nature. So let's just dive right into the real cost of greed and the incredible payoff of honesty. Right off the bat, I want you to ask yourself, what happens when a lifetime of honest blood and sweat savings falls into the hands of a master manipulator? It's kind of a terrifying thought, right? Well, this is the exact core conflict of the narrative we're breaking down today. We've got this deeply vulnerable, trusting worker going up against a powerful, greedy figure who literally thinks he holds all the cards. But as we'll see in this explainer, the person who thinks they're playing the game is sometimes the one being played. All right, Section 1, Famine and Hard Work. So this whole story kicks off with just absolute sheer grit. Our protagonist, Bhushan, doesn't just wake up successful. Actually, his journey starts by fleeing a devastating famine in his home village where the fields are completely bone dry. He wanders for months until he finally hits the village of Vijaypur with no shelter, no prospects, nothing. He ends up begging for work from this wealthy farmer named Jagat Seth, and the job he gets? Managing 50 cows and 50 buffaloes. We are talking shoveling manure, feeding and watering 100 massive animals day in and day out. He does this grueling, back-breaking labor for years, literally living right there in the cowshed, until he finally scrapes together enough to build a tiny, simple hut for himself. And his pay for all that? 200 rupees. That was Bhushan's initial monthly salary. I mean, sure, it came with 2 free meals a day, but this was his entire compensation for living inside a stinking cowshed and working around the clock. He had to breathe in that terrible smell day and night. But, Bhushan didn't complain once. He poured his absolute soul into this labor, showing a level of dedication that is just, frankly, incredible. But here's where that hard work actually starts to pay off. 400 rupees. His wealthy employer, Jagat Seth, actually went ahead and doubled his salary. And why did he do that? Because Bhushan's relentless honesty, his cleanliness, and the genuine care he had for these animals actually made the cows produce more milk. The quality went up, the overall yield went up, and Jagat Seth realized, okay, this isn't just any worker. This is a highly valuable, incredibly honest man. So the big takeaway here is that Bhushan's integrity literally doubled his net worth. Moving on to Section 2, the false safekeeper. 5,800 rupees. Over several years of living completely frugally and working tirelessly, this is the total amount Bhushan managed to squirrel away. But there's a catch. The village starts experiencing a huge spike in thefts, and Bhushan's little hut is just sitting there empty all day while he's working. Terrified of losing his entire life savings, he goes to Jagat Seth for some advice. Seth suggests handing the money over to the local zamindar. Now, the zamindar is this powerful landlord known to have heavy security and, at least supposedly, a reputation for being this honest, kind guy. Now, when Bhushan first drops off his savings, he is operating on pure 100% vulnerable trust. He tells him, I don't need a receipt, you are Jagat Seth's man. And the zamindar plays along, right? So Bhushan thinks his money is perfectly safe. But flash forward 2 whole years. Bhushan decides he wants to buy his own land to farm, so he goes to withdraw his funds. And suddenly, the zamindar pretends he has no idea who this guy even is. He completely weaponizes bureaucracy against this poor worker, aggressively saying, where are your documents on stamped paper? It's honestly a chilling reminder of something we still see all the time today, how quickly a handshake agreement and blind trust can be totally weaponized against you by someone who knows exactly how to use the system. But the betrayal doesn't even stop at just stealing the money. When Bhushan falls to his knees, literally begging and crying for his hard-earned savings, the zamindar just drops the mask completely. He screams at his guards, beat him until he's unconscious. This 2-penny man questioned my honesty. He uses sheer physical violence to silence this desperate, pleading man, throwing him out onto the street, bruised, bleeding, and completely broken. It is just this devastating moment of pure, unchecked greed. Which brings us to Section 3, a masterful trap. So 2 days later, Jagat Seth finds his prized worker covered in bruises and hears all about the zamindar's massive betrayal. Now feeling kind of responsible for recommending the guy in the first place, Jagat Seth gets to work. He devises this absolutely brilliant psychological trap. And here is the genius 3-step plan. Step 1, flash a massive fortune to the zamindar. Step 2, let the zamindar's own insatiable greed completely hijack his logic. And step 3, wait for him to voluntarily refund Mushin's tiny amount in order to secure the massive new fortune. It is just a flawless manipulation of a greedy mind. And here is the bait for that trap: 50,000 rupees. Jagat Seth walks right into the zamindar's house, treating him with total respect, and drops this line about traveling to another state for business. He says he needs a secure place to store this absolute mountain of cash, and that the zamindar is literally the only man in town he trusts with it. You can just imagine the zamindar staring at this giant suitcase of money, practically drooling. He thinks he's just landed the biggest fish in the entire village. But watch how perfectly this is timed. Right at that exact critical moment, just as they planned, Bhushan walks into the room. The zamindar completely freezes. He knows that if he beats Bhushan again or denies knowing him right in front of Jagat Seth, Seth is going to pack up that 50,000 rupees and walk right out the door. The zamindar's overwhelming greed for that suitcase forces his hand. So, to maintain this fake illusion of being an honest broker, he immediately backpedals. He apologizes to Bhushan, blames it all on a misunderstanding with his guards, and loudly declares, "I am a man of my word. I will return your money right now." And boom, he instantly refunds Bhushan his entire 5,800 rupees. Which brings us to the absolute climax of the trap. Literally, the second Bhushan has his cash safely back in his hands and steps out of the room, one of Jagat Seth's servants comes bursting through the doors, shouting, "Master, the merchants are coming here. You don't need to travel." Jagat Seth does this great act of acting super surprised and relieved. He turns to the zamindar and says, "Well, look at that. I guess I don't need to leave my money with you after all." He just picks up his suitcase of 50 grand and casually walks out the door, leaving the zamindar standing there completely stunned. The trap worked like an absolute charm. All right, section 4, the fruit of honesty. So let's tally up the ultimate reality of this whole situation. Look at Bhushan. Because of his honesty and that deep loyalty he inspired in his employer, his final payout is his full 5,800 rupees, and he gets to keep a reputation that is completely honest and peaceful. Now look at the zamindar. His greed totally blinded him. Not only did he lose the 50,000 rupees he thought he was about to steal, but he also lost the 5,800 he had already stolen. He is left with absolutely zero, plus the massive burning embarrassment of being completely outsmarted. So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with a final thought. If the zamindar's greed ultimately cost him everything, what is the true long-term price of your own integrity? Just like Jagat Seth points out at the end of the story, those who eat from dishonest earnings never truly prosper, while those who work with honesty are ultimately protected. It's just a really powerful reminder that integrity isn't just some nice moral choice. It's actually the smartest long-term investment you could ever make. Thank you so much for joining me to break down this incredible story. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.